Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to This Is What It Takes. I'm your co-host, Michael Mackniak, and I'm here along with the lovely and talented Victoria Cuore. Say hello, Victoria.
Hello, Michael.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, just living it, man, just living it. Today we have a really, really cool guest who's done some really cool stuff that for one, have never heard of. And he's going to have to talk a little bit about that, and we'll get to that in a second. But John Graham is here with us today, and John, I always do this to people, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Tell me what you have going on in your life. Oh, I know one thing that you just told me that you have going on in your life that's super exciting and really got you jazzed up and all firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, my wife and I are expecting our first boy any time now, probably within the next month. So we have three young daughters already. So the balance is evening out a little bit in the house,
That
which is
balance will
fun. But
never even out, buddy. Let me
yeah,
just tell you, you are
at
doomed.
least something. But yeah, just
Yeah,
excited to have another
for you.
child, and our
That's great.
daughters are really excited too. So
No, I'm sure they are. And
mhm.
for now, give it a few years, they're going to be the poor guy. And if you have to leave in the middle of the podcast, we completely understand.
Actually, everyone's out of the house right now, so we're clear. We're ready to go. This
No,
is a
I'm saying
rare
if you wind
opportunity.
up having to go to the hospital for a baby,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah, we
yeah.
got it. We'll get you back. So,
Okay, appreciate that.
yeah. So welcome. John's story is very unique, folks. John is a champion of memory, a world-class memory guru. John, you gotta tell us what this is all about and how you came into becoming the champion of all things remembered or forgotten or whatever the case may
All
be.
of that. Yeah. I was 27 when I learned about this world of memory. So, fortunately, this is not innate within me. I was not born a genius or photographic memory or anything, but since have become a three-time USA memory champion. And I read about these techniques in a book, just visual techniques you can use with your mind and ways you can utilize your mind and what your mind wants in order to remember things like massive amounts of information. So just to give some idea, my peak, I was able to memorize like a deck of shuffled cards in 21 and a half seconds. I did that in the World Championships in China. I was in front of hundreds of millions of people all over the world. I was on a show called Super Brain in China that apparently had 400 million viewers. I mean, this is insane numbers, like more than the Super Bowl, right? Where I memorized there were 100 lockers. Each locker had a different random item placed in it, like a Rubik's Cube or a glass of water. I had to memorize what locker number each item was in. And then each locker had a four-digit code that was randomly assigned. So I had to memorize all four-digit codes, all 100 lockers, all items. And I went head to head against the Guinness World Record holder from China, and we tried to type in the codes faster than each other when items were displayed. So that's just to give you an idea of what the world I was in.
Okay, now,
Right.
okay. So it's just, I have to ask. I mean, why, John? Why?
Yeah.
Why did you do this?
Right.
It just sounds like torture.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, there was a lot of pressure and intensity for sure. In hindsight, I mean, I was driven by a lot of vanity and a lot of insecurity. I wanted to be popular. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to have accolades and achievements, right, for people to validate me. So there was a drive there that was unhealthy for sure. But I mean, it was an incredible world, an incredible gift, and things that I'm able to teach people now. But yeah, it was definitely, I mean, that's part of my story too, is we're all kind of driven by invisible things or things we're not ready to look at. And that's part of the journey is uncovering that too, to heal and to really see what's going on under the hood.
Can you tell us a little bit about what made you take this process? What made you take this step? I know that you've gone through your own journey and travels with anxiety and how you took this book and made it who you are. Like, can you kind of go through that for us? I know we talked about this and I can't believe it's been 2 years, but can you kind of,
You're right, 2 years.
I know, can you talk about that and kind of for people to understand? Because it's an amazing journey that you went through.
Yeah. Well, the memory started, yeah, by reading this book and just like learning about a competition of just ordinary people who challenge their memory and memories, lists of numbers and a list of names, lists of words in a competitive setting, right? And I just started practicing on my own and learning on my own. Very quickly learned that I could do it, right? I thought it was just kind of a bunch of, okay, I just really wanted to test it, see what was possible, and it was. And I just took it to the elite level. I went to my first competition and bombed. Just had so much intense pressure. So much, I mean, the most psychological pressure I'd ever felt in my life. I almost walked out of the room because it was internally it was so intense. Everyone's sitting at a desk and there's no noise. It's just people with paper, but it's just so intense internally. But I had to crack that code. I had to not only learn how to memorize better and meet some of the best people in the world and learn from them, but the the main thing was I wanted to learn how to improve under the pressure. I mean, that's sort of my story is I did all kinds of stuff as my learning. I developed a method called chaos training where I knew the techniques and I was training for a competition. So I would literally like drop and do 20 push-ups to get my heart rate going. I would put a podcast in my ear that I really wanted to listen to and blast it to 10. I would drink a bunch of water, so I had to pee. I would hold my breath while I was doing the push-ups. So I would do all that, get up on the desk and start memorizing. So my heart's racing. I'm out of breath. I have to pee. I hear a loud podcast. I would train for this pressure so that when the actual competition happened, the pressure wasn't as bad. I had, right, the training was harder than the war, and so to speak. That's what I developed. So I was brute forcing all the pressure within me. I was attacking it. Well, the Victoria, you're talking about the story of after the memory competitions and after I've won, I'm still dealing with intense anxiety, right? I'm still like doing all the mental training, all the optimizations, all the meditations, all the breath works, all the things like to that you think will help internally to focus. But life escalated to a point where I was still had just intense anxiety. I was having daily panic attacks. And so clearly this brute force and this willpower wasn't addressing the root.
Well,
Something
did
wasn't
you have
working.
the panic attacks and this anxiety before you got into this kind of mental gymnastics?
I think it only I always had some layer of anxiety that I just thought was normal, right? Looking back in hindsight, it was just a normal way of living for me, but absolutely was there. The panic attacks developed and escalated later on in my career. I think after I was just pushing way too hard to achieve, not just in memory, but in my business and in life. I mean, I was just 100% about achieving the money I wanted, the fame I wanted, the business I wanted, and everything. And it was all poured into to me. And there was a sort of an unhealthy drive going that kicked in a lot of that stress
Sounds
and
like you almost
cortisol.
have some kind of a self-imposed brain injury from over,
Hmm.
pushing too hard. Like when you push, let's say you're
Yeah.
doing bench presses and you just push too much weight and you pull a muscle in your pec, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if that's the same thing, but it just sounds like you
Yeah.
beat your brain into submission for the purpose of accomplishing a
For the
goal.
purpose of a goal. Yeah, I think a lot of it was that. It was just too much. But I also know for a fact that a lot of it was just I had been so much in my head and so disconnected from what was actually happening in reality, the present moment and what's real. And I wasn't even feeling what was in my body anymore. I was just everything was pushed aside or shifted out of or, bypassed in order to get what I wanted, right? I was on a one-track mind. And so that suppression just it keeps coming back as life will just bring that to your forefront until you deal with it and see it. And it was just a big crescendo for me, a big buildup that it all exploded. This was about 2023, so fairly recently where it
Yeah.
all came to a head. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So what was life like before you started training for your memory competitions?
I actually just decided to travel the world with my now wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. We were living we had moved out of state, lived in Colorado. And we're just like living our life single and in the mountains, enjoying life. I had my first salary job. I worked at a bankruptcy office. So life was just kind of settling in for me. I had our first house together, doing a lot of hikes on the weekends, just meeting young friends and living life in Colorado, which had a really cool vibe compared to Michigan, I'm from, where I live now. But yeah, I was just young and we were just living life and having fun. And then I picked up that book. I saw that book and it just spoke to me
But you were
because
having
it was
anxiety back then, right?
yeah, in hindsight, absolutely. There was a surgery I had when I was 13 years old to correct something in my chest. My sternum was born deformed, so it's like I have like a chest bowl, we joke it's like a little cereal bowl that I can eat cereal out of. Anyway, I was so insecure as a 13-year-old, I wanted that fixed, right? And so when I had that surgery, I think that's a turning point for me where everything kind of changed. That was the insecurity that I had was kind of feeding that, and that led into experiencing more anxiety and more. I changed schools, so I was just insecure in general, and I had a lot of people, start bullying me or just noticing me, and then I got in my head more and developed more of a shelled existence in my school years up until probably, I was in my 30s. But yeah, there was a layer of anxiety and insecurity for sure that whole time.
And you were right in that really imperative age of starting puberty too, and you know, that whole
Yeah.
part that goes with that. And
Yes. Yes, all of it. The school change, the surgery, the insecurity, the weakness. I had to leave class 5 minutes early because I couldn't carry more than 5 pounds because I was healing from the surgery. So like that attention too, and not being able to carry things and having to get to my locker early and go to class early and all of that kind of it set me aside from everyone else too. And I think people notice that too. Like, what's wrong with him? And you're 13. I mean, kids are
Right.
you're going through it. Everyone's going through it at that time and
Yeah,
Kids
yeah.
can be
wanting to
so
bully someone
cruel.
else or point someone else out too.
Yeah. And kids can be very, very cruel at that age.
So as you're now okay, so you go through your school years and pick yourself up, and you got a wonderful girlfriend, and you happen to read this book about memory for God only knows what reason, and it really spoke to you, as you said, and now you're going to become this master champion. But and earlier on, you said that you had vanity, you had insecurity, and you wanted to be validated. And I think that certainly resonates with me. And I think it resonates with most of us. Unfortunately, some people who are listening got the, and some people that are talking with us right now, as a matter of fact, got the recognition that unwelcome in a way that they didn't want it. Am I right, Victoria?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, so I guess what I'm getting at is you went into this training and you competed at a very high level in a sport, an activity that none of us can even probably really relate to. And then after that, you had another crash where the anxiety really kicked in on you. And from what I said, over exercising your brain, and I'm half joking. I have no idea if that's a thing or not. But then how did you? It's interesting that we were talking about this because did you feel at the time that you were having this second onset, this second wave in life of somewhat debilitating anxiety issues and panic issues, did you get to a low point where you said, I got to do something about this, or and what did that look like if you did?
Oh gosh, yeah. I was having panic attacks, multiple panic attacks a day. And, anyone who's had panic attacks knows there's a range of what these feel like.
I was going to ask you where you were, what happened.
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's a wave of like general, you feel like a sense of doom, like there's something wrong, but you can't explain it. Internally, you feel like everything is heightened and the walls are closing in, right? And you have that type of feeling. And then you can have all the way to not that you think you're going to die, you know you're going to die. right? And obviously it wasn't true, but you're like, I'm going to die because there was one time the left side of my face went numb because of all the stress and tension and panic. And I thought I was having a stroke because, I couldn't feel my face. So I called 911, went to the ER, right? The whole time my brother's driving me to the ER, I thought I'm going to die. And there was one time where I thought I was having a heart attack because there's tightening in the chest. And then you feel faint and then you feel like you're going to pass out. So again, 911. So I went to the ER like 3 times just because there's a range. I mean, I'm having this every day. For one, just to get an idea, one time I was driving over a bridge to get to a restaurant with my family or my wife's family. And I had a panic attack just because of the buildup of stress and just felt unwell. And there was an alert, had a panic attack. So the next day, not the next day, but later that week, I drove over that same bridge to go to Target or something. Panic attack, just because I was on that same bridge. Same thing with my kitchen table. I had a panic attack sitting at my kitchen table talking to someone one day. So then literally the next time I sat in that chair, another panic attack. It was like the walls start closing in because your brain starts recognizing similar things. That's why people who have panic attacks just feel like everything is closing in on them. They can't go to the grocery store. They can't go out. They can't talk to people because it just keeps triggering and triggering and triggering, and your walls just like close in on you.
So how do you sit at that kitchen table?
You go to a
How do you
different
do it
chair.
again, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was part of the gift for me in this is I was having them every day multiple times. So I very quickly learned I was okay, like I wasn't going to die. And so I learned that the only way to move through this was to be with them. And so them coming back again when I sat down was a gift because I was forced, life was forcing me to confront it, not battle it, not face it, not change it, but to just let it wash over me and to lean into it and to learn that I was safe so that those walls could again break down and expand again.
That's a really interesting way to say it. Yeah, so it takes strength and courage to get yourself to the point where you recognize that you are in a place that you don't want to be. It takes introspection to figure out how you got there and what you need to do to get yourself out. And I think that you came up with a really great, what they say, notice and choose, right? You notice that you're going into it. You choose to either let the panic attack own you or you're going to turn it around and own it. And then the second part of that sandwich, I call it, is this courage to say, okay, enough is enough. I'm not going to let these panic attacks or these tape loops or driving over this bridge cause this for me anymore. But then and that's hard work. The introspection for most people is where we get stuck and we stop.
Oh yeah.
And then right after we decide we're going to do something, it's very easy to get distracted and then bring us back into that same pattern again. But but then the real work also has to take place where you have to make I'm not gonna call it I guess a sacrifice on some level. You got to choose and you got to say, I'm stepping up and whatever the pain of this next step is going to be is something that you have to engage in. And I'm curious about what you developed in your own head. I mean, you developed this chaos training program for yourself to train to bring yourself to the highest of heights in your profession, your particular sport or activity. How did you train yourself? What techniques did you use for yourself that maybe our listeners can learn from? And what are some of the things that are some of the real aha moments that you had to to overcome this type of debilitating place, being in this
Yeah.
place?
Well, it's interesting you brought up the chaos training because that was my mind's way of overcoming pressure and creating pressure, right? I learned very quickly in this overcoming that I didn't need to create any chaos, that life was just going to poke and bring things out. And right, everyone has experiences in your life that you're faced with. You can either run from them or go around them or skirt around them. You can lean into them, right? And their life is infinitely more intelligent than my mind. And so the panic attacks that were happening for me were intelligent in a way. They were led by intelligence where I needed to face them because I had pushed and suppressed this, not just the mind part of it and the rigidity of my mind, but also the suppression, the sensations, the emotions that were within me. I had to face it all. That was the only way through. Incredibly uncomfortable. I mean, I spent probably 2 months just facing all of this and just sheer terror and discomfort and like hopeless, helpless feeling. Right. It got to the point where I needed help and I caved and I cried and I went to the ER and I told my mom or my dad to come with me to, like, let's check on this. And then that's when I realized everything was okay. But to answer your question, what did I develop is I developed an ability to surrender to it, which does not mean give up, but it means surrender the will of your mind. Because in my case, and in many cases, the mind is what got us in this mess. The rigidity or the conditioning or just the programming, the things that we have that are invisible to us, the drives we have, or the right. And so I had to surrender my will, meaning I wasn't going to brute force my way and fix this with meditations and affirmations and all this nonsense of like trying to change it. I needed to lean into what was real. What was real was the sensation, the emotion, the charge. What was real was the storm that was going on in my head. And I don't recommend anyone go into the storm and try to analyze it, fix it, change it, rationalize it. Really, the biggest piece of advice and the biggest thing that changed me was leaning into the sensation, the felt
I
sensation of it
understand
all.
exactly what you're saying, and I think you're spot on. I really do. I also am not a person who readily buys into, and that maybe a real cynical way to say it, but I don't participate in meditation and self-help and stuff like that. I find for me a lot of it doesn't resonate. But what does resonate with what you're saying here is that we have to acknowledge and be in touch with that level of discomfort. The storm, you called it, right? And why are we in this? Why are we here? What got us here into this level where I'm just not satisfied? I'm in this crazy dissatisfaction. And I think that dissatisfaction is a great place to be for some people, for hopefully for most people, because it gets you off your ass and gets you into action to fix it. And that's what your story's telling me more than anything. It's just, I've got to, and how you do that. In your case, you went right at it. Other people, there's a million different ways to do it, but the point is you gotta recognize it and you gotta choose to do something about it.
Mm.
And if that means getting into meditation, if it means getting into self-help groups, if it means therapy, if it means psychiatry, if it means better living through chemistry, whatever it takes. And I mean that in terms of medical chemistry, not self-induced medical, you know. I think that that's exactly kind of you're exactly talking about some stuff that I'm writing right now. And I love listening to this coming just another person's perspective, because you're going to pay a cost, man. You're going to pay a cost for it. Nothing in life is free. There's a reason that cliches are true. It's going to hurt, but you got to believe that on the other side there's something better.
Your discomfort. I mean, that's the salvation. I reached a point where I was, again, the gift is I was having this every day. And I reached a point where I said, I cannot do this anymore. Like what I literally said, what I'm doing right now isn't working. It's kind of like if someone, God forbid, has a heart attack. At that moment, they go, what I'm doing isn't working, what I'm eating or lifestyle. And that's a gift because now they can do a 180 and go the other way and eat healthy, clean, whatever that means. But if someone's in that middle layer of, they don't have the heart attack, but they're unhealthy, they don't have the catalyst to change. And I had a catalyst to change. So I'm so thankful for it. I wasn't sitting in I'm having a panic attack once a month and I can deal with it. I was like in the muck of it. And so I'm blessed. But you're right, it comes with a decision. You have to realize what you're doing isn't working. Even if it's like helping and band-aiding and okay, I had the realization these are band-aids.
Right.
These are reframes. These are, yeah.
Let me ask you, For people who have just maybe had their first panic attack or are not where you are, how do you know when yours were coming on? Like, what were your symptoms coming on, and how long did they normally last for? Because I know everybody's is different, and then everybody's experience
Mhm.
is different. Even yours, you've had some where you thought you were a stroke, or some that you thought was a heart attack. But like, what would you do when you knew one was coming on? Is there tips that you could provide for someone who may just be starting out in this and just not even realizing that what it is that they're having?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you've ever had a sense like something isn't right or you have an impending doom, like something bad feels like it's going to happen, and like your thoughts start racing and like there's an adrenaline surge, that's typically what a panic attack is. And it's awful. I mean, it's so scary. Or waves, people sometimes describe them as waves of terror, waves of discomfort, waves of doom. And, like, it's hard because I was so in my head and I thought I was a calm person and I thought I wasn't stressed, but I was, right? I was delusional about it. I didn't see the depths of that. And so if someone has a lot of tension, like literal like tension in your neck, shoulders, that's a really good sign you're incredibly stressed or you're not dealing with pressure. Not It's not like you're just sitting and having bad posture at work hunched over too. It's you're holding things in. That's what tension does. So tension, that feeling of doom. And if you're having that, if you have it enough, you realize nothing bad is going to happen. Like that's the first fear is like, am I having a heart attack? What's wrong? Right? You go down the WebMD route. But the best thing that I did and recommend is just to completely lay down if you can, or completely relax your body head to toe, head to toe, head to toe. Like just keep softening and softening and softening your body and just leaning and just feeling that energy move through you and just kind of starting to allow your body to regulate itself because you're dysregulated, you're in a fight or flight or freeze, and you may not realize it, but the body has developed that over years, like myself. So relaxation was my religion during that period of time, but not just relaxing and listening to meditate. I didn't listen to meditation and I didn't distract myself from it. I went into that sensation as best as I could, because in the beginning you don't want to. It's like jumping into an ice bath. You want to get out, right? It's uncomfortable, but you get used to it and you develop safety and security with that energy, which is sort of, it's not the goal, but it's what you're doing. You're developing intimacy and safety with that energy within you to be able to crack through that. And you're not cracking through anything. Like life is intelligent. This energy is intelligent. It will do that for you. You just have to lean into it.
How long do your panic attacks last when you're having them?
Yeah, I mean, anywhere from a minute to 3 hours. A couple of the bad ones were hours long, right? That's why Google didn't help because Google told me they only last like 30 minutes at most. And I had a couple last for like 3 hours, just laying in bed. It was so awful, hyperventilating and
Sweating yeah.
oh, just yeah, so in your head. Yeah.
Well, the other side of this is other people can't see it, right?
Yeah.
And that's very common with mental illness and things along these lines, PTSD. Other people can't see it, so we can't understand it. I have a family member who we jokingly talk about what a hypochondriac she is because she's always got something wrong, always. But about once a year or so, she goes through what she claims are her panic attacks. Now, of course, she's gotten to the point now where it's kind of like Chicken Little and the sky is falling all the time. But it makes me feel bad because if she is going through what you're describing, you wouldn't want that for your worst enemy, never mind somebody you love. And we on the outside looking in can't understand what are you talking about? We're just sitting here at the kitchen table. Why are you freaking out all of a sudden?
Yeah, it's
You
exactly
know?
it. Under
And
a
and why
calm
are you
setting, you could lose your mind. Yeah.
yeah, and as you said, taking a person-centered approach, you really do feel like you're dying, like your chest is compressed and you're having a heart attack. And I'm looking at you like, dude, you're fine. You're
Yeah.
fine. And
I
just
had plenty of that where I would tell people what was going on and they'd look at me like, what are you talking about? Everything's fine. Look around. Your daughters are out there playing.
yeah.
Like, yeah, everything's good. And they mean well, but yeah, absolutely. I had a lot of hypochondriac in me too, in hindsight. And it's a lot of hypervigilance, I think, that has to do with the anxiety and the mental, like the construct I had built in my mind too. Like the hypervigilance is always when you're in anxiety, you're always looking for what's wrong, like to protect yourself, because your mind is very insecure. And so it's always looking for threats or just anything that it can like get ahead of to take care of. Like an email, right? Or just like figuring out what to do with that person, with the email or that situation, and just every little thing you're noticing or looking at to try to protect yourself. And so that's where the hypochondriac comes from. It's that hypervigilance of trying to protect because of the severe insecurity you feel internally.
So there wasn't necessarily a trigger. Like these would just come on, not necessarily for a reason, right? I mean, if you're in a car
Yeah,
or sitting at the table, or I mean, it's not just okay. If I sit down at that computer desk, I know I'm going to have one. But it was happening to you at all different times and places.
yeah, it was. And it was, I think a lot of it had to do with the buildup of stress. Like you reach a tipping point where the buildup is just so intense internally that it tips over and it causes them in the middle of the grocery store over the bridge. But it's also the mind and just how much you're lost in your mind of control and trying to navigate life and trying to make sure you're okay too. That any thought like that or any hypervigilance can trigger too some of those episodes.
So let's talk about it from that perspective because you gave us a nice picture of what it's like. You gave us a nice picture of how you, in your mind or your body, your inner soul, address panic attacks when they come in, and some of the tools that others can use while it's happening. But as we know, sometimes being reactive is a real bad way to fix something. We want to be proactive. We want to
Yeah.
understand that these things can happen, and there, there's as Victoria was saying, there might be triggers, there might not be triggers. But what can people do proactively who are prone to this type of, again, attack? What do you think proactively? And you talk about this hypervigilance. What can people do to be less hypervigilant? What can people do
Mm.
to, I don't know, protect themselves from getting to this place, do you think?
Yeah. The hypervigilance is the construct comes from the construct of the mind, the conditioning we have, right? It's part of it is just absorbed by us from the world. Part of it is our experiences. We have experiences in life that are uncomfortable to us, so we avoid them, or we learn how to avoid them, or we learn how to take care of that. And so we develop a structure of yeah, insecurity and looking for things and threats to disarm them. So we have to first all see that. Like we can't overcome it or change it unless we can see that clearly. Like, oh, you can see the insecurity in your mind and that you're always in the future, always trying to fix that. Once you can see that, okay, you see that reality.
Is that like a
Now,
doom and gloom kind of outlook, you think? Like people are always looking for the next shoe to drop kind of a thing.
yeah, it's not always doom and gloom. For me, it's also just trying to make sure all your like I was so hyper focused on what I wanted in my business in my life, right? One track mind. So anything that got in the way of that or that was a problem along the way, I had to figure out. And I spent a lot of time ruminating and marinating on like how to figure these things out. Like I said, an email would come in and I would immediately think, oh, it's a client who has something bad to say. Right? That's my how the way my mind worked, right? I would just like a jolt of panic and like, oh, what do I do about it? What do I do about it? So the mind is just always trying to figure out what to do about things. And we just have to see that clearly.
So
And
John,
one thing I learned in what I teach and what I swear by, I don't know if I teach it, but I embody it because I don't really consider myself a teacher anymore. I do what I do and I share that with people. This energy within us is so intelligent that we need to learn how to meet it and develop security and safety with it. When I say energy, I'm talking the emotion, the density, the charge, the panic, whatever is arising in you. Because the more we push that away, the more our consciousness cannot witness this stuff inside of us. And we develop this wall. Consciousness is so intelligent, and we need to It needs to see itself, it needs to feel itself in order for to navigate life and for us to start expanding or to learn, right? So here we are as a rigid mind trying to bypass everything and avoid everything. The consciousness can't see it, can't feel it. And so feeling this stuff, like talking about hypervigilance, if I continue to relax and feel my hypervigilance, to feel this stress or to feel this rumination, like let's say my mind wants to ruminate, instead of spending time in it and continuing that pattern, I relax and I feel more safety with that energy. It's uncomfortable, but I develop an intimacy and a safety with that. And the more I do that, the more I meet that energy and develop safety with it. Guess what? I can release it and integrate it. Not through me and my willpower, but it just happens. And I develop a capacity. I start expanding my capacity to handle life. Like I went from this with my panic attacks to now like expanding my ability to handle life, the voltage of life, the energy of life. And the amazing thing is this density of anxiety starts to dissolve. And this hypervigilance starts to dissolve because you develop an intimacy with yourself. Because I saw it and then I felt it, right? I leaned into it. So I don't have to do anything about mentally changing tactics of hypervigilance, like, oh, rationalizing anything. I just need to lean into that energy and develop safety with that. And that's the biggest thing that I think will change people's lives is if they stop the mental reframes and therapies and stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it doesn't touch the root of what's actually going to help you, what's more intelligent within you.
So did you get to a point where, like you were saying before, like an email or something like that would make you anxious? So let's say you were worried about getting an email and you're hyped up and you're worried, and then you open it up and it's okay. Do you get into that like intense and then it just like crashes when you realize it's fine? Is that how it was? It was just like a hard release all of a sudden and then it drain you?
Yeah, it was definitely draining for sure. That's a good way to put it. I don't know if it immediately released because I'm still in a mind that is looking and churning for the next thing. So even if that's gone, there's still probably in that time something looming in my mind that I'm still munching on in the background or ruminating on. There was
I'm
always
paranoid,
something. What's that?
like almost like you're paranoid a little bit about what's coming.
Sure.
Yeah.
I always thought of it as like rumination, but some of it's paranoia, some of it's just overthinking. Like even thinking about what I'm going to do in my business, or there's a business call coming up with a new client potentially, and I'm stressing about that, or I'm just thinking about that. Doesn't even have to be stress. I'm just like wanting this outcome and thinking about how much money I want to get in my business this month, and like that's in a mind that's so controlling and insecure. That's all that is going on. And
Mhm.
so it's draining me in the meantime too and causing more stress, which I didn't really recognize as stress. I recognize it as just, oh, that's the way I am and that's my drive.
Didn't that
But
pour out into other aspects of your life?
oh, everything. I mean, in hindsight, I can see it so clearly. And when I'm in it, it's just normal. But yeah, I wasn't present with my daughters. You know, I take a break from sales calls. I used to do calls with people and try to pressure them into like buying something from me, right? It was awful. Again, in hindsight, I can see it all clearly now. But it's high pressure tactics, manipulative, and it wasn't evil, but there were like subtle things that I was just trying to do all the time to get people to buy and to make money, right? So if I went a day 0 for 4, right? Thank God I did, by the way. Now, I'm not saying I'm a bad person, but there was some things I was doing I didn't align with. You go 0 for 4 and you go outside and your daughters are out there playing in their tricycles and having fun and all dad is doing is like feeling the pressure, the weight of not making money for his family, wanting to do better, I'm trying to figure out what I can do better. I'm replaying some of those calls in my mind to see where I dropped it or like what I can improve upon. Because a lot of it was beautiful what I did too of helping people. So I'm always like trying to improve, but here's my daughter saying, "Watch me, daddy," or "Play with me." And I'm kind of half in it. I'm not fully there. And that's with cooking and that's with my wife, right? It's just I'm in my head most of the time. And so I'm not fully present, feeling the sensations in my body and seeing what's in front of me. So, absolutely. I mean, that spilled over into everything. I wasn't,
Built over into your other relationships.
yeah, every relationship, every person that I dealt with, was I fully there or was I not? And did I have a motivation behind what I was doing and talking about with them? You know,
And
it
here's
was
that
all
sub
mind driven.
and here comes that subconscious taking over again because the subconscious you're talking about is being so powerful. I mean, it really is the inner workings of everything that makes us human, I think.
Yes.
So let me ask you this question. Are you fixed? Are you cured? Or are you like the rest of us, a work in progress? Because this really isn't a sexy, I had a near death experience. I got hit by lightning. I saw God, this kind of thing, and which I, for one, love because you're an everyman. We don't all have these massive tragedies or that give us we saw the light or whatever the hell that you want to say. But it sounds like you are a work in progress. You're proudly a work in progress.
No, proudly, yeah. I mean, that's the truth, is I'm continuing to learn and to become more present with everything that's happening in my body. I can say truthfully that the panic attacks are no longer the anxiety, the density you feel with anxiety. I keep bringing that word density, like it just feels heavy. That feeling, the dread, the panic, that's all gone. And I think largely because again, I relaxed and I leaned in. I have since devoted my life to meeting every drip of energy that moves through me and not bypassing it. I mean, I've given up coffee because I want to feel every ounce of grogginess within me if I wake up because of how intelligent it is, what it puts me in touch with my body. So I've gone from mind heavy, like deeply into my body and the sensation. But absolutely, I'm still a work in progress and still meeting life and still learning too. And seeing like still turning over cards in my mind of like, okay, here's some conditioning, here's a pattern, right? And let's lean into that. So absolutely.
Let me ask you, when you like go to bed at night, even before you got the handle on this, and your brain just wouldn't shut off and it wouldn't let you sleep, what would you do to help shut that off so that you could get the rest you needed?
That's so tough because the mind is so addicting that we want to like, we naturally gravitate to staring at those thoughts or engaging with them in some way or just like getting lost in them.
Right.
Again, I prioritize feeling. So behind the thoughts, or even before the thoughts, there's a feeling, a sensation of what the thoughts are feeling like, right? Or the energy in your body. I would just prioritize coming back into that energy and feeling that move through you, which again is, it's very difficult because the mind sees that as like, what, it doesn't feel important. It's boring or it's like intense. It's uncomfortable. Why am I doing this? But again, I think this stuff comes up in the middle of the night. You realize when you lay down or when you get quiet, stuff comes up
Hmm.
because that's the stuff I was sharing earlier that I have avoided my whole life. The reason it keeps coming up is life is going, face it, feel it, right? That's why everyone talks about 2 a.m. I can't sleep. It's coming up, but it's because there's no stimulation around you. So here it is. And so I see how intelligent that is. And I know it's painful and awful sometimes and uncomfortable, but it's intelligent because life is giving you what you need to look at, and what you've avoided this whole time. And so I wouldn't engage mentally. I would just spend as much time feeling it as I could and just keep moving back into that sensation over and over again until I fully felt through it.
And are you working with others in this capacity right now, helping
Yeah.
others to understand what's going on? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I work now exclusively with men because I've realized that when it comes to embodiment, that I'm not a woman and I can't help women like to the deepest level of their biology and their role, their innate role. And when I say innate role, there's obviously a spectrum, but men and women are different species. And, you know,
I
like
knew.
truly, we're both human, but we are
I love
completely
it.
different species. Like I know this because I have three daughters and I can see the truth of how their role is completely different from my role and the beauty of that like balance. That's where I'm at with life is seeing the the harmony that we can have as human beings when we truly lean into who we are innately. Anyway, I work with men on how to develop that capacity I talk about by leaning into this intelligence. So people who are, again, very heady or just struggling with pressure, or, as men, we carry a lot of weight that we don't talk about and we hold it in. And so,
Literally and figuratively.
very much, very much.
Now, good for you. And you can certainly give us the information so people could reach you in the event that they are interested in some of the work that you're doing, because I think it's pretty amazing stuff. And to again, I've been looking into this so much lately that you really just really piqued my interest with this conversation about how we have to do that self-analysis. And it's really important and it's really impressive. So thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for being here with us today. And certainly hope to get to talk to you again.
Yeah, this has been amazing. I appreciate likewise, I think everyone here is doing amazing work and appreciate the compliments. But yeah, we're all just trying to figure this out. And when we come together, we all learn from each other. I've learned some things too being here, but yeah, let's keep doing what we do and sharing what we do and what we know and not the things we don't know, right? That I used to do. So it's being truthful to life.
What a perfect ending. That's a microphone drop. Thank you very much, John.
Thanks, Mike and Victoria.
Thank you.